Hello, I have a special treat today. I'm going to be interviewing a transgender woman. She happens to be a good friend of mine. We kind of know each other uh, for a lifetime, you might say. And she's very special. I admire her tremendously, and I believe that she can share her experiences that would be very beneficial for all of you who are interested in learning what it's like to struggle with transgender related issues, depression, and other matters. She's very special. I am very proud to know her, and I feel she can definitely help other people with her experiences, her knowledge, and her overall kindness. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce you all to my friend, who I love dearly, Emily. So, here she comes. Hold on. Oh, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I'm very privileged to have you as a friend too, and we do go way back. And I think uh, opening up and sharing is very important, as you suggested. Certainly, uh, I have gone through enough to kind of dig inside of me. I find that when I do a self inventory or I dig deep within my soul, I can learn a great deal about myself. Uh, yes, I do in fact struggle, like you said, with transgender issues, bipolar issues, depression. I guess we all have our struggles in life. Nobody has an easy life, not even the richest of people, like Donald Trump. But everybody is kind of looking within themselves to find what it is that makes them happy. And I, coming from a family where I was blessed with having loving and caring parents, I also felt struggle was part of the family composition or makeup because both my parents battled with depression, and I also struggled with depression from a very young age. And I didn't even know what I was going through with regard to my transgender issues. I didn't even know what transgender was. Uh, I only found out about it in my early teens that I was transsexual. I knew about being transsexual before I knew about being transgender. So it was very hard for me. And I tried as best I could to live the normal life of a boy growing up. Uh, and it wasn't an easy situation for me, but I tried my best because that's what I was supposed to do. You know, I played baseball, I was good in school, I got good grades, I asserted myself even though I was extremely shy and very insecure. I just felt that I had to immerse myself in my schoolwork. I loved athletics, so aside from trying to get away from my feelings, the way I coped was through academics, sports, and cross-dressing, which I did secretly. I couldn't tell anybody about that part of me, and that was the hard part growing up, was living with that secret, not telling anybody. It was very hard, but luckily I was able to get through it, and I feel I'm stronger for it. Uh, when I was a teenager, I felt like that was a very difficult time for me, obviously, because I was going through the puberty stages, and I was more inclined to want to live as a woman, a young female, but I realized that I was not, obviously, and I tried to live that image that a male was supposed to live. I never gave any signals that I was anything but a man, even though I didn't feel that way on the inside. So I was trapped, I felt trapped. But I managed. I was able to go to college. I was able to get married after many years of being solo. I did well in a career as an accountant. I studied engineering and accounting in college, and then married, and we have a beautiful son. So I'm very proud of that part of my life. Though I know it's not perfect. I don't think anybody's life is perfect. We just try to do the best that we can, and that's all we can do. So I am trying my best. I'm trying to cope. And as I transition, I learn new things. And I'm going to be transitioning for the rest of my life. And it is not an easy thing to go through. But I know that I'm doing the right thing. That's what's in my heart. I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I'm just trying to be happy and free and to live as I know in my heart I should. But I'm very grateful that you allow me the opportunity to express my feelings and what it's like to be this life, what it's like to have this kind of a life. It's certainly not an easy life. I never chose to be like this. It just was. And I had to find a way to deal with it. And, for me, I'm much more content living as a woman. And I'm very happy. And that's all I can ask for. And I want the best for my son, my family. And, I'm going through a rough time. I'm going through a lot emotionally. I'm struggling with my depression, my bipolar issues, my being out of work, my financial stress, my transgender battles, my loneliness, my isolation. So I value having friendships, especially with nice people like yourself. And, if you ever want to ask me questions, ask away. I'm here. That's what I want to do, is at least expose to people what I go through being transgender and having bipolar disorder and raising a son on the autistic spectrum. I would love to share my experiences and hope that maybe somebody can also gain some knowledge or insight and realize it's not the end of the world, that you can bounce back, you can grow. You just have to look inside of you and determine what it is that will make you be your best. And for me, after a lot of soul searching, a lot of hiding, a lot of repressing and suppressing, I came to realize there was no other way but to transition. And though I transitioned late in life, I'm much happier now. I lost, in some ways, I lost my job. You know, my family's not on board really. My son still struggles with this. And, you know, I don't want to force this on my son or anybody for that matter. I just wish that I could be true to who I am, live the way I've always felt I should, and just have people understand as best they can that this isn't really a choice. This is something that I battled with my whole life, and I always knew in my heart what I needed to do. And am I scared? Yes, I'm afraid. I've always been afraid. I never knew I would transition. I never thought it would be possible. So, you know, I'm only doing what I knew I should do. Despite my happy uh, life as a male in ways, obviously being a father was top on the list in my proud accomplishments. But I'm being truthful to who I am now, and that's what I need to do. So anyway, um, I guess you have the floor open so you can ask me any questions. Uh, maybe we can, you know, ask a couple of questions today, and then on another date, we'll delve into other aspects of my life. We'll do a little at a time. I think that's probably best, if you're okay with that. Thank you. And I will uh, allow you to ask me some more questions because I'm trying to help people. Wow, Emily, that was very powerful. I can certainly appreciate what's going on in your life, and I am very amazed how you are able to do your transition and as best you can live your life, especially with your family. Um, I am very honored to have you as a guest and to be able to ask you questions. And obviously, I can sense that it has not been an easy road for you uh, based on what you just said. So, my question is that you seem very happy, though you still have this aura of sadness. And I'm inclined to think that the reason, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but as you said, you struggle with bipolar disorder. So obviously you're going to have fluctuation in your mood swings. And obviously another aspect of your aura, I guess, if you want to call it that, of coming across somewhat sad is your struggles with being transgender. So my question is that you must have dealt with these issues from a very young age. And as you said, that you remember as early as young kid, I believe you said that, and I am trying to find the best way to ask this. I know children are afraid sometimes to open up, tell the truth, share their feelings. So I'm curious how you felt as a young child, and did this feeling of being different come into your mindset, and if and when it did, how old were you? I'm sure that it was never easy for you, so we'll ask that question. I'll ask you a couple of questions in this segment, and then we'll just say goodbye and we'll do another show. But I'll ask you a couple of questions. You'll answer them. We'll say bye for now and we'll come back. But so my question is, how old when you realized that you felt different? How did you deal with these struggles? When did you realize you had no choice but to come out? And so how old were you? How did you deal with it? When did you actually come out? And how are you doing now? I guess we'll leave it at that, those 4 questions. And you just feel free to answer it as you know, or as you wish. And then we'll wrap up. Thanks, Emily. Yes, I think that's a good idea. I'll answer those questions that you just asked me, and then we'll do another segment on another day, because I do have things that I have to do, and I'm sure you as well. But in answer to your question, and I kind of hinted to these issues in my introduction, but how old was I? When did I realize I was different? In numerical chronological age, I knew I was different by the age of 3. That was when I started sneaking into my sister's closet and looking for dresses to wear. I just had this natural attraction towards wanting to wear a dress, and when I wore it, it just felt so good, and I felt that it was the right thing to do for me. And as much as I tried to suppress it and hide it, it was not something that I was going to be able to escape. It just became a natural part of my life, a part of me. It was my identity. So, in answer to your question, your first question, I was 3 years old when I knew. Did I do anything about it? No, I didn't. And that's actually the second part of your question, is I didn't know what to do. I couldn't find any help, so I suppressed it. I kept those feelings inside of me. I couldn't tell anybody, and it was very difficult. I tried to deal with it as best I could, the feelings I had. The ways I coped was by cross-dressing in secret, and I was a good student in school, and I was good in athletics. So those helped me get through those painful feelings of feeling different or feeling like a girl. Uh, how old was I when I decided to come out? Well, I was 3 when I knew. I didn't come out till 51, and it was very hard. And I never expected to come out, to be honest with you. It was just seeming to be the natural progression of things. Uh, I guess in 2009, when I lost my dad tragically to suicide, it was very emotional. And I had a good friend who helped me get through that time in 2009. Then, sadly, my best friend who helped me get through that, he passed away 2 years later, 2011. And it was devastating when I went to his wake. He was only 40, he left behind a wife and a baby girl. And here he was no longer with us. And it was so heart-wrenching to see his wife and baby girl uh, and seeing his dead body. It was just so painful. And it really knocked me down to the point where I started to seek therapy roughly a year later. I don't know why it took so long to go back to therapy. Therapy for me was on and off for years. But in essence, therapy, by starting it, it was good because it helped me to deal with these things I was going through. I lost my mother many, many years earlier to depression, and then I lost my dad to suicide. My mom and dad were a good couple. They loved each other. Sadly, my mom died too soon, and they were married almost 30 years. My mom sadly died in 1990, and then my dad died in 2009. So it was almost 20 years that they were, well, it was almost 20 years that my mom predeceased my dad. And it was horrible. My dad struggled. So when he died by suicide, I was very depressed. And then my friend, he was there for me. And then, as I said, when I went to his funeral, it was horrible. And I was very down. And as you said, with the sad aura, that's very true. Because I always felt depressed. And I realize now that it's because of my bipolar depression. But I've been depressed all my life, and I guess you could say it's a combination of being bipolar, but it's also being transgender that sparked the depression, in my view. Uh, and I feel that there are things I want to do with my life and in my transition. And going to therapy, I talked about the hard things I went through, and it took a while for me to eventually touch upon the subject after discussing my father's suicide, my mother's premature death, my son's autism struggles, my financial worries, my marriage problems. And then it took me some time to start talking about what it's like being transgender. And when I finally opened up about it, I kind of surprised my therapist. She was like caught off guard. And then we shifted our sessions on my transgender identity. And we both came to the conclusion that it was probably best for me to start my transition. And I agreed. And then I had to decide, how do I come out? How do I tell my wife? How do I tell my son? How do I tell my employer? So it was all this planning I had to do. And eventually I had to tell my employer, and it didn't go over that well at all, actually. And then I had to tell my wife I was going on hormones to affect my gender change. And that was not a good thing for her to hear. So I was trying to find a middle ground, but I could never find it because everything was forcing me to go in that direction when everything else was holding me back. And I felt like I was being held back all my life. And I wanted to go in that direction. And I couldn't hold back anymore. So I had to go forward. And I know in the process, it affected me in ways. It strained my marriage. It affected the relationship I have with my wife and my son. My son is autistic. This is not an easy thing for him. Uh, it affected my work relationships. I eventually lost my job. You know, it's very complicated to explain that issue. But I'm not working. I'm on a medical disability. Uh, not through being transgender, but being bipolar. So, in essence, it was not an easy transition, and it's not easy. It's a very hard road to travel. Anybody who's thinking of transitioning, they really have to know that this is the right thing for them because there is so much to lose. I'm not discouraging you from transitioning. I'm telling you, though, that you have to go into it knowing that that is truthfully how you feel. And, I am happy living as a woman, but I still have struggled. It's not the cure all, you know, because I'm living this way and I'm dressing in female clothing and I'm happier. It's wonderful, but I still have problems. The problems don't go away, they never go away. Even if I had the surgery, it's still not gonna change my problems. So that is just the plain and simple truth. I just want to find a way to be happy. I don't want to go to my grave feeling like I never got the chance to live my life the way I felt I should as a woman. So that is how I feel. Uh, I think I answered your questions. I was 3. Uh, it was very hard. I came out at 51, and there were repercussions. Um, that's the story of life and the story of what it's like to be a transgender woman. So I look forward to our next session, and any questions you have in the future, just ask me, and I'll be glad to share. Hopefully we won't get redundant, but I'm certainly looking forward to sharing my feelings. And it doesn't necessarily have to be about transgender issues. It could be about anything. It could be about the politics of the country. This is a very important time now we're in. I'm worried about the state of our country and the affair affairs. I don't even know who I'm gonna vote for. So it's gonna be a challenging time, and I hope to God that whoever does become our next president will do the right things, and then I hope they can unify uh, each other. It seems they're always fighting with each other, so I hope that things will settle down. Anyway, I said enough. I don't want to bore your viewers, but thank you again. I'm very proud to share my feelings and thankful as well. I love you. Thank you for the opportunity. And thank you out there, whoever's watching. I hope that at least you can gain some insight into what it's like to be transgender and to struggle, but find the strength to do what you have to do. And that's what we all have to do. Thank you. I love you guys. I'll leave it to you to sign off. I'm signing off. Bye. Wow, Emily, you did wonderful, kid. I want to give her a round of applause. I hope you do too. She certainly deserves it. I just want to say I'm proud of you. I think you're amazing. You're a beautiful young woman, and you should look outwards and hold your head up high and never doubt yourself for 1 second. You have so much to offer. You're a beautiful woman, and I am very honored to have you in my presence, and I wish you nothing but the best. And I do look forward to having more time talking about issues, and certainly politics or whatever you want to talk about. I too don't know about the presidency, but obviously we have concerns and we want to choose the right person for the job. Anyway, it was a pleasure for me to speak with you, and I look forward to asking you more questions when you're available and I'm available. And I just want to say it was awesome. I love you, girl. Just keep doing what you're doing. Love you. Bye. And you want to say one last goodbye? You're certainly welcome to, Emily. And you're welcome on my show anytime. I love you. Bye to you and my fans. Thank you so much. You made my day. I am very honored and I'm very happy that you allowed me to talk. I am very shy, so don't mind me, but I think this is a good exercise, and it helps me to express myself at any time I can, and hopefully people who are interested, hopefully they can get something out of it. I think we all can learn from each other. After all, that's what life is about, learning from others people's experiences. And certainly I'm very honored to be friends with you, and grateful that you invited me to do your show. And I love you. Love you and all the fans out there. This is Emily saying bye, and thank you for the applause. And let's give my friend an applause as well. He really did a good job. And I guess I'm going to say a bombshell before I go. I think he's also transitioning from male to female. And that's why he's talking to me, because he is really going to become a she. So that's between you and me. I love you. Bye. Emily.